Thanks for tuning in to Dirty Teeth. I'm Edyn, I'm 13 years old, and this is the gear I took on the 2023 Fat Pursuit 200K.
I've got Edyn, I've got Papa Miles right here, and I don't know, let's get into it. All right, Edyn, so tell me about your bike.
It's a Salsa Bear Grease, it's carbon, size medium. It's a super light bike. This was my first year fat biking, and this is the first fat bike I've ever had. The Fat Pursuit was my first fat bike race, and it was a pretty fun one.
It's a pretty nice bike.
Yeah, it's a sweet bike. If you know of any side hustles, Edyn's still in debt for this sucker, so...
You probably use a job to pay for it.
He could use a job. He's actually going to be working at a shop this summer to pay for this bike, so...
Nice.
I have 45 North Van Helgas for my tires. They are 4 inches wide. They're 27.5. I have Whiskey rims. They're carbon. They're really nice and light. They are 76 millimeters wide, so they're a bit skinnier for a fat bike rim. For my hubs, I have DT Swiss. They are the 350s. I do have it set up tubeless right now. I'm just using regular stand sealant.
If you were to do it again, would you still use the Van Helga tires? Do you want anything wider? Do you feel 4 inches was enough?
I think 4 inches was enough for this race because you can let out air and it gets a little bit wider. But if I was gonna do the race again, I would probably use tires that weren't quite as beefy.
How often were you putting air in or taking air out? How did tire pressure work for you?
I was adjusting my tire pressure a lot. I feel like every time I put in air when it was hard, I'd just go to a soft patch and I'd have to take air out. But I had this high volume Lezyne pump. That worked really well for filling up my tires fast.
So in terms of changing your tire pressure, did you just do it by feel or did you carry a gauge?
I would have carried a gauge, but I don't have one and they're also heavier. And I think just doing it by feel is fine.
What's your tips for air pressure on fat bike tires?
If you're bouncing, raise the pressure, and if you're spinning out, lower the pressure.
Boom.
So for navigation, I used a Garmin Edge 520 Plus. It worked pretty well. I had to charge it twice, I think, because it loses battery pretty fast in the cold weather. And then for a light, I used the Blackburn Dayblazer 150. This was the light I wore on my head. This is a Petzl Tika Plus. I think my front light died once, and I had to put it in my pocket to charge. And it worked great for that half an hour while it was charging. For handlebars, I have the Salsa Guides. They're carbon. They're pretty wide. They're nice bars though.
Do you know how wide they are?
I do not.
I'll find out. That's my job.
For a headset, I had a Cane Creek.
Cool, looks like a Cane Creek 40. Those things are bomber. How about your stem?
This is just like a generic Salsa stem that we got with the bike.
What's going on? What time in the morning is it?
1:30.
1:30? And that's when the party starts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the snow. All right, I'll see you 22 miles down the road. I love you. You're amazing. Don't forget to howl.
Why don't you tell me about these super cool pink and turquoise pogies?
So I actually made these pogies with my mom. They are a little bit floppy, but they worked well for this race, and they work pretty well in colder temps. The coldest I have ridden in and have the pogies in was -30 up in Stanley. I was doing an overnighter to test all my gear for the Fat Pursuit. Yeah. Somewhat cold. I think it's -15 right now. But, yeah. I used these with some thicker mittens, and it worked great.
Basically, when are you going to start marketing these and selling these Edyn specials to the public, the masses? I'm sure everybody watching this video wants your pogies.
Nope, just one-offs, yeah.
So you sewed these with your mom?
Yes.
Just the two of you just put these together? What'd you use for insulation?
There's down, and then I have a husky, and he sheds a lot, and we just had a lot of his fur, so we used some of his fur as well.
Oh, you've got a bungee to tighten it up?
Yep.
And it's attached at the bar with Velcro, or how do you have that going?
I just have 2 safety pins right now, and that worked pretty well.
I should also mention that last year, Miles and Edyn laced and built their own dynamo wheel. They came over to my house for some tips, and I helped with de-stressing and final tension. It was really fun watching them work together. What a cool father and son project.
For my grips, these are just salsa grips. They came with the bike. For the brakes, they're SRAM G2 RSCs.
What does your drivetrain consist of?
So I have an X01 shifter and then an X01 derailleur, 10 to 52 tooth cassette, 12 speed. My front chain ring is a 30 tooth chain ring, SRAM Eagle. And then for my cranks, I have True Votive stylo cranks, carbon cranks, so that's really nice. And then for my pedals, I just have Shimano XT SPD pedals, and with a little bit of a platform, so if my cleats froze up, I could just rest my feet on here.
What are you using for chain lube?
I use just wolf tooth chain lube. It works great. It doesn't leave your chain black, and it says it cleans your cassette.
Did you know I like that chain lube too?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you haven't watched my video on chain lube. You better watch it. How about these cool little valve stem covers?
Oh yeah, so these are really nice valve stem covers. They're perfect for fat biking. You don't have to screw them off. They just slide on, and you can't lose them in the snow because they're big and bright colored.
I notice you have a blue one in the back and a pink one in the front. Am I noticing a trend here with your pogies?
Maybe.
What are your favorite colors?
Probably pink and blue.
I like your sunnies. What are those?
They're Smith Optics Bobcat or Wildcats.
How'd you get that color? Is that the custom-made Edyn Special?
No, they just had this pink and blue color and thought it was pretty cool.
Nice.
This is just a WTB Volt, the saddle that came with it. It's pretty soft. It's good for riding. This is just a Salsa Guide seat post. It's carbon.
Any saddle sores or anything like that?
A little bit. I wasn't wearing chamois, so yeah.
Do you usually ride without a chamois?
No, I usually ride with chamois.
If you were to do Fat Pursuit again, would you go chamois-less or would you try a chamois next time?
I would probably just go chamois-less. I don't see, it's not that bad.
Use any chamois cream or anything like that?
No.
No. Gotcha.
So on the front, this is a Salsa Anything cradle, just their Salsa dry bag. Inside of here, I have longer base layers, so a long sleeve shirt and long johns. And I have also some like waterproof pants and a big puffy jacket. Moving on to the frame bag, it's a Revelate Designs Ranger frame bag. And in here, I had some of my snacks. I had a windbreaker, a spoon, fork, some goggles just in case it got a little bit windy and snowy, toilet paper, and then these are some big puffy gloves just in case it got colder. Just like first aid, batteries, fire starter, and stuff like that. Also, I had my little repair kit thing.
You carried CO2?
Yeah, just if I bled out too much air to pop it back on.
Did you carry any spare tubes?
I did not carry a spare tube.
Whoa!
Too heavy. And in here, I had my stove, which is a nice Olicamp small titanium stove.
Tell me about the infamous water boil test.
I was planning on bringing like a bigger white gas stove. However, when I looked at the temperatures and realized it was going to be quite warm, I decided to go with this, which is a lot lighter and a lot faster to use. For the water boil, I was able to go pretty fast.
So that all went smooth? You didn't get nervous or anything? You just lit her right up?
Yeah.
Were you one of the first ones out?
I think I was about like 5th at the water boil. I think I may have passed a couple of people who were using the white gas stoves.
We're good. We're rolling! Boom!
21!
Yep.
So this is just a salsa alternator rack. It's a little bit heavier and bulky, but it is definitely sturdy. Here is a pot that I used. Inside of it, I had my food. It's just food and then a little rag to like rinse out everything. And then I have a Thermarest foam pad. And then a Big Agnes Starfire 0 degree bag. And a Gore-Tex bivvy.
And did you bivvy it all in the race?
I wanted to, but it was so much work getting everything out and setting it up.
So you basically rode 24 hours, no sleep, no bivvy.
Yeah.
What was your finishing time?
My finishing time was 24 hours and 50 minutes.
And what place was that?
I got 8th place.
What was first place?
First place was, I think it was 22 hours.
So just a
20
couple
hours.
hours more than you? Or a couple hours less than you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite the achievement. Nice work.
Yeah,
Thanks.
super
Are you
awesome.
ready for your finish ride in?
So how about drinking? Walk me through your hydration kit.
I just had this like running vest. There are two 500 milliliter soft flasks in the front, and then I could fit a 1 liter bladder in the back. I just had this like hose insulator. It's off right now, but it just basically goes around the hose. My body heat was enough to keep it from freezing.
So your whole capacity was 2 liters of water?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, I see behind you a thermos. How about that?
Oh yeah, and then in this thermos, I just had like coffee in it to keep me awake, and that was pretty good.
You drink coffee?
Rarely. On some races.
What else did you keep in that hydration pack? Anything?
I had also my like electronics, my Spot X. It's like a texting thing, you can text on it. And then just a cash battery to charge my blinky lights, Garmin, and this.
Oh, you could charge your Spot X with that cash battery.
Yeah.
Cool.
So on the other side, I just had charging cables, face tape if it got cold, but it didn't. And then also an extra clear lens for my glasses, and then a couple of lighters. 1 main lighter for starting up my stove, and then 2 extra ones if this one like fell in the stove and got wet, snow and got wet.
So walk me through nutrition. What did you eat during the race?
Some cut up bars, and I cut them up prior to the race because if they froze, I could just stick like a little block in my mouth and suck on it until it got warm and I could chew it. I had 2 freeze-dried meals that I would just use hot water from the aid stations and soak them like that. The only other thing I ate were the pancakes from the second aid station.
All in all, about how many calories do you think you took in during the whole race?
I think there were about 2,000 calories from the bars and freeze-dried meals, plus the pancakes.
So we're talking maybe 2,500 calories or something like that for the whole race.
On my body, I had a 0.6 merino t-shirt, and since it was pretty warm, that was just enough as a base layer. And then 0.6 merino underwear. For my head, I had this Pearl Izumi balaclava that went over another 0.6 merino hat, and then just a buff if it got cold. I also had, it's not really a puffy jacket, it's just a thin sort of Nordic jacket. It's made by Patagonia. And then just some like Nordic pants. For my boots, I had this thin liner sock. I just had a turkey roasting bag as a vapor barrier, and then I had this thicker sock on inside these 45 North wolf hammers. So these are just gaiters. Since I was wearing Nordic pants, the cuffs aren't big enough to go around the outside of the boots. So if I walk through snow, snow gets in there. So I just had these to go over and keep the snow out.
And how were your feet?
My feet were pretty warm. That was everything I was wearing, and then these are the gloves I was wearing.
Just thin hand-up gloves?
Yep.
Never need anything warmer?
Nope.
All right, I've got a couple rapid-fire questions from the YouTube universe. First up, how tall are you and how much do you weigh?
I'm about 5'4", and I weigh 93 pounds.
93 pounds. Is that wet and wearing boots?
Probably.
Tell me about what worked, what didn't, and what would you change in terms of your bike setup for Fat Pursuit?
The bike worked great. The only thing I would change would be the tires to a less knobby tire.
And the 4-inch tires you think were fine? You wouldn't go any wider?
I might try a little bit wider, but they were pretty good. When you let out some pressure, you could still float.
With your gear and clothing, what worked, what didn't, anything you'd change?
I was definitely really hot with my gear and clothing, but that was probably just because it was a really hot race.
And when you say hot race, tell me what the temps were.
Like above 20 degrees. I think the hottest it got was like 32 almost, which was pretty hot for fat biking.
How did you train for the Fat Pursuit?
I trained during the summer and I had a pretty good base, and when I signed up for the Fat Pursuit, I just did a couple of like longer days and rode pretty much every day.
So intervals, anything like that, or you just pretty much rode for fun?
Not really intervals, just rode for fun.
And what'd you ride? What kind of trails?
We have a bike path that's groomed in the winter, so I rode that, and then we have a couple of Nordic trails that are pretty close, so I rode some of those.
Would you do anything different with nutrition or hydration?
I definitely had a lot of caffeine during the race, and that kind of made me feel like a little bit icky afterwards. So maybe not so much caffeine, but it did help me stay awake. That was good.
Otherwise, you had enough water, you never ran out?
Yeah, there was a little bit, the stretch in between the first aid station and second aid station was pretty long, so I ran out of water, like, pretty close to the second aid station, and I may have gotten a little bit dehydrated there, but nothing too bad.
How did you prep your mind coming into an event of this magnitude? Do you do any kind of positive thinking, have any mantras, anything like that?
I don't really have any mantras, but I just, like, I just think to myself that I want to do it fast, but if I can't do it fast, I like have enough things to stay overnight, and I will be fine, like, doing it in 2 or 3 days.
What did your bike weigh fully loaded?
I believe it weighed around 45 pounds.
And is that with or without food, water?
That's without food and water.
So without food and water, about 45 pounds.
Yeah.
What were the highlights of the race for you?
Right after the third aid station, which is about like at 110 miles, that's when we got onto like actually groomed trails, and I was able to like pump up my tires pretty solid and go through that fast.
And you kind of knew the end was close.
And I knew it was close, so yeah.
Is that your only high point? There's got to be other high points for you.
And another high point was getting to the top of Two Top, because when I got up there, it was nice. The like sun was peeking out. It was super pretty, and yeah. And I knew it was downhill till the next aid station. Top of Two Top right now. Pretty big climb. We climbed out of the clouds. Yeah, that way. And one of the low points was after this first aid station. I didn't know how big that second mountain was. I thought it was going to be like little compared to Two Top, but it kind of made Two Top look little.
That was your main low point? Any other low points?
There weren't too many other low points. There was around the second aid station, which is like 76 miles in. I really felt like going to bed. It was around like 11 or so.
How do you deal with low points to get through them and kind of stay positive?
I just tell myself to keep pedaling, and even if I feel like stopping, I'll just be like, I know I'm safe. I know I'm okay. I'm not going to get hurt if I keep pedaling. So I just try to keep pedaling.
I love it. So you keep moving forward. For those who don't know about the race course, tell us how long it was and how much elevation.
So it's about 125 miles, 200K, and it's around 8,000 feet of elevation.
Were there any points in the race where you were out of your comfort zone or got a little scared or stressed out?
Going down Fish Creek, I think it was, there were quite a few like cat tracks, mountain lion tracks, and then I think I talked to a couple other people. They saw some like wolf tracks, and I had ditched my bear spray for this race because I didn't know how it would work in cold weather. That was a little bit like scary, but yeah, I just knew like they're not going to try to attack anything with a blinky red light on the back.
Hey bear, hey wolf. Did you listen to any music during the race?
I did listen to some music during like the night, and I also listened to a couple of podcasts.
Which podcasts?
I listened to a biking podcast and then a podcast about like true crime podcast.
And that kept you going?
Yeah.
What kind of music?
Just like some rap music and stuff like that.
I wouldn't have pegged you for the hip hop rap guy. You just have like a rap playlist?
Yeah.
Tell me about people. Who motivates you in the cycling world? Do you have any role models or people you look up to?
I don't just have like one role model. I think like just everybody that does it. It's cool. Like just the people I met while doing the Smoke and Fire and while doing this race. It was just cool to meet them, and yeah.
Anybody specifically that you met that you had a good time with that has helped you get into this sport and become a better athlete?
Well, on this race, I rode with Rebecca Rush from like around 4 a.m. to like 7 a.m. And that was nice because we were both pretty tired, and that was fun to ride with her.
So having the company kind of helped you get through the witching hours?
Yeah.
So how did it feel to beat a whole bunch of old people?
It feels really good. I like it. Like at the start line, I feel like people are like, oh, he's just a kid. He's not going to go fast. But it feels good to like beat people. And everybody's like really nice as well.
So you feel there's a camaraderie in this bikepacking world?
Yeah, definitely.
I sense the same thing. Like people can bust their butt and race real hard, and at the end it's all high fives and good vibes, right?
Yeah.
Almost there. What's your favorite subject in school?
It's probably math. I really like doing it, and I'm pretty good at it, and it's fun.
Besides riding bikes, what are your other interests?
I do some like Nordic skiing and climbing and mountaineering and stuff like that.
What everybody's wondering is what's next for you? Do you have any other bikepacking events on your radar?
So I actually have another bikepacking race. It's called the Stagecoach 400. It's in Southern California. It's like 400 miles long, and it starts in March. So I'm looking forward to that. Already getting ready.
Tell me real quick, what other bikepacking races have you done before Fat Pursuit?
So I've done one other bikepacking race before Fat Pursuit. It was the Idaho Smoke and Fire. It's also 400 miles long, and that was a pretty fun one. It was a little bit smoky at the end, so that was hard.
Do you currently have any sponsors?
So I have like one actual sponsor, Point Six Merino. They make socks, merino wool socks, and merino wool base layers, and that's pretty cool. I don't know if I'd call it a sponsor, but I know one of the reps for Smith Optics, so I've gotten a couple of things from them, and also I know one of the reps from Fidlock, so I've gotten a couple of things from them.
Cool, and I noticed you're wearing an Industry 9 hat. What's up, I9? You got to take a look at Edyn. Hook a brother up.
Yeah, that would be pretty awesome.
I had an absolute blast hanging out with Edyn. I'm proud of you, your family's proud of you, and you're wise beyond your years. I know we're all super stoked to see what the future holds for you. If you want to ask Edyn any more questions or just offer congrats and kudos, do so down below. Edyn did a great write-up on his experience on the Smoke and Fire, and it's up on bikepacking.com. He also did a fun podcast with Patrick at Bikes or Death, so I'll put those links in the description as well as his Instagram account if you want to track his adventures. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like, and remember, sharing is caring.
Until next time, ride bikes, give back, and pay it forward.
Thanks so much for squeezing dirty teeth into your busy schedule. Please help us reach more people and ensure you receive new videos by giving this video a like, subscribing to the channel, and clicking the notification bell. Until next time, ride bikes, give back, pay it forward.